So today we saw the Tesla delivery numbers come out, and my goodness, was it way below what Wall Street expected, which contributed to Tesla stock capitulating for yet another trading session. But look guys, it's not like I didn't make a video last week warning you guys, stating that look, the delivery numbers are likely to come way below expectations, and that's likely to cause Tesla stock to fall down even further. But hey, look, I'm the crazy guy just ranting here on YouTube. Now, I shared with you guys this chart right over here last week, highlighting the Wall Street consensus of what they believed the delivery numbers were going to be, along with the blue line, which is an independent auto researcher, which is Troy Teslike, and I shared how both lines pretty much were capitulating from the beginning of the year. And so we see that pretty much the estimates were going down lower. And I want to highlight this comment that I got on my YouTube channel. And by the way, I'm not trying to pick on the person who made this comment. I'm only sharing this comment because I got a lot of individuals on Twitter. I keep saying Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, sending me DMs. I even got an email about this, surprisingly, right? People saying kind of something very similar. And I wanted to highlight it because a lot of people didn't understand this. And again, by no means am I picking on the guy. Now, this comment said, don't you think the stock price reflects already the low Q1 2024 delivery numbers? And this comment was made, of course, before the delivery numbers came out. And I was saying that Tesla's stock price was most likely going to come down. And the reason why I think it confused a lot of people is because people were saying, oh, well, the market's already pricing in that Q1 is going to be bad, and so this is the bottom for Tesla. And I said, no. The reason why Tesla was most likely going to fall down even further was because the delivery numbers were more likely to come down even below Wall Street estimates, which we ended up seeing today was far below Wall Street's estimates, which is why we pretty much saw Tesla stock fall down even further. So last week was not indeed the bottom, right? Now, for a while now, I've been talking about Tesla stock pretty much from a bearish perspective, pretty much since December 28th. And I've been saying, look, I warned people back in December 28th. I said, look, Tesla stock is overextended from a fundamental perspective, also from a technical perspective. They're going to be experiencing some challenges. And I got a lot of hate for the longest time. But here we are today with Tesla stock even further below than when we were back in December. And look, I want to kind of remind people that I am long-term bullish on Tesla. I've just been saying, look, these are going to be some rough times for Tesla. And I've been saying that I'm not buying, which, by the way, you guys could do whatever you see value in. I think this kind of stirs up the comment section a lot because I often say that I'm not buying because I'm waiting for confirmation. And it's been like the last 4 or 5 months, people have been saying, well, this is the bottom for Tesla and I'm buying. And by all means, you could buy whenever you see value and whenever you believe is the bottom for Tesla. And I know people say, oh, waiting for confirmation, that's more only for trading. It doesn't really work well for long-term investing. I want to disagree. And the reason I say this is because, yes, I trade and I invest. I do both types of actions when it comes to participating in the market. But the reason why I don't just buy when something's down and claim that this is the bottom is because I'm not sure. And so, of course, no one knows. And I like to wait for that confirmation of that uptrend because at least it gives me that safety net that momentum is going upwards. And so when you kind of deploy capital when something's just falling down, claiming that it's the bottom, well, you really don't know. You haven't seen the floor yet. And so the bottom or the dip could end up getting dippier. Now, someone might say, oh, well, if you're investing long-term, it doesn't matter. You could just keep buying and keep buying. But the reality is you work hard for your capital. And so you want to be very strategic in how you deploy that capital because, again, I don't have unlimited amounts of capital or dollars to go ahead and deploy into Tesla. I mean, imagine how beautiful it would be if I could just buy every single dip equally, just buy. I can't. And so what I like to do is just put lump sums after I see that confirmation of an uptrend, even in my long-term portfolio. And I know that stirs up a lot of controversy. Again, there's so many different philosophies when it comes to investing in the long term. But the reality is, at the end of the day, you should only buy whenever you see value. I just like to provide these videos to kind of just provide some insight of what I'm seeing. I know a lot of people like what I say, although I tend to have more people dislike what I say, especially when I'm pretty bearish on Tesla for the longest. But now with that said, in this video, I want to go ahead and highlight what is my overarching view moving forward with Tesla, both from a trading perspective and a long-term investing perspective. But before we actually even talk about the price action, I want to kind of talk about something else as well. See, there's a lot of individuals, and I like to call them the Tesla stock pumpers, although that's not accurately correct, because even if you have a large following on YouTube or X.com or even Reddit, no matter how much content you post trying to kind of be extremely bullish on Tesla, it's not going to really impact the price action for Tesla, right? Tesla has a huge market cap, and even if you had all your followers put money into Tesla and buy just because you made bullish content, it's not even going to make a dent on a 5-minute candle. You need a lot of capital to move Tesla. So it's not accurate to call them stock pumpers for Tesla. But the reason why I'm using this term is because there's been a lot of individuals who, and you guys know who they are, I'm not going to say names, but for the longest, while Tesla has been falling down, they still have been making content saying, oh, look, this is the bottom, this is the best time to buy. And they kind of disregard the reality, right? In fact, I've been seeing a lot of individuals say, oh, well, the delivery numbers don't really matter because energy actually started growing. But I want to remind people, right? Again, I always say you want to look at a multi-dimensional or have a multi-dimensional approach when it comes to looking at the markets. And that includes fundamental analysis. And the reality is, you may think a lot of these content creators that make content based on Tesla and they provide little charts and stuff like that, they're not really doing their homework. They're not really doing the research, because if you actually take a look at the consolidated statement of operations, you can see that year end last year, the majority of Tesla's revenue came from auto sales, about 81%. While only 6% came from energy. Now, I'm not saying that energy isn't going to continue growing. Of course, I'm very optimistic that energy is going to grow and it's going to contribute more to Tesla in the future, especially with pretty much all the cars now adopting the Tesla charging stations, right? Also, robotics is going to come into play. I think also the software is going to do well in the future. But as of right now, I can't just look at, oh, well, look, the 90% or 81% of, what Tesla makes its money from is doing horrible, but look, energy came up a little bit, so this is great. I mean, it's not. They're trying to spin whatever narrative it is that they can to kind of pump up content, and I get it, right? They do it for the impressions or the views, and again, it's the YouTube AdSense money, and the reason I know this is because back in 2023, when Tesla actually had a very great year, when I made content about Tesla stock going up, because I believe that Tesla was going to go up, and in fact it did in 2023 tremendously, I had a lot of views per video. I was getting about like 8,000 views on some of these videos talking about Tesla from a bullish perspective. But as soon as I switched to kind of this like narrative of like, look, Tesla stock is not doing good, my views pretty much dropped. However, a lot of my peers in this space that cover Tesla stock, they just continued making those bullish videos because they know that people have this kind of a confirmation bias where they only want to hear what they want to hear. It's kind of like when you look at a review for a product you want to buy on Amazon, you'll see that 1-star review and you'll be like, I'll ignore that. And you're only looking for the 5-star review, right? It's confirmation bias, and that's the reality. So again, I don't want to call them Tesla stock pumpers because it's not accurate. They're not really pumping Tesla stock. If it's not like a penny stock where if you make content on it, it could significantly influence the stock. But these guys who are always promoting Tesla from a positive view, I noticed that they're not even like saying accurate information. They're saying, oh, well, energy is doing so well, you just don't have to pay attention to deliveries. No. I mean, a majority of Tesla's business right now has to deal with the deliveries of its vehicles, its sales of its vehicles. And so to ignore that, I think it's a little bit imbecilic. But again, I don't want to call out anyone in particular. I'm just saying you got to watch who you're watching, right? I guess that's kind of odd to say, but you have to be very mindful of who you're watching, because some of these individuals, and there's some good players, right? Like, for example, Farzad, right? I joke that he's like Uncle Farzad. There's a lot of good people out there, but there's a lot of them who they're honestly just pumping out content just for the YouTube AdSense, and they're getting millions of views on their channel. And they're making about like $8,000 a month just from these YouTube videos. And so I just want you guys to be aware of the reality. Don't kind of just follow the herd just because they're trying to lead you in one direction for their own benefits, right? Again, at the end of the day, it's YouTube, right? It's not like we have this fiduciary responsibility to help you with your money, because at the end of the day, we're just posting content. But I just can't find myself to make those positive videos for Tesla, always pumping it and saying, oh, nothing matters, this is the best time to buy, when I just personally don't feel like that. But again, at the end of the day, you could disagree with me and you could buy Tesla right now at this moment if you see value in, which we'll go ahead and talk about Tesla now from a technical perspective. But I just want to remind you guys, if you made it this far in this video, well, I did a little bit of a rant, make sure to tap that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on future videos. Again, I've been talking about Tesla stock going down since December 28th, and I've been talking about all these other trade ideas that we've been taking advantage of within the Push and Profit private group, which is going to be the first link in the description down below if you're interested in joining. But with that said, let's go ahead and hop into my laptop. Alrighty, so we are officially in my laptop taking a look at Tesla, and I want to go ahead and highlight some of the things that I find notable in regards to Tesla from a short-term perspective and also a long-term perspective. Now, in my last video giving an update about Tesla, I gave this warning that from a fundamental perspective, things are looking pretty bad, and I believe that delivery numbers are going to fall below Wall Street, pretty much what their consensus is, and that was going to lead to some selling pressure. Well, that was looking at Tesla from a fundamental perspective, but I also layered that with a technical perspective. And if you guys are familiar with the channel, I often say you want to synthesize multiple data points. And so one of the things I also stated in that last video was that, hey, look, there's a lot of volume relative to price, which is this right over here. This is the volume profile. And when there's a lot of volume relative to price, that means that there's a lot of exchanging with the buyers and the sellers. And so we weren't going to see big directional movements around these areas where you see these two big bars. But once you start to fall below that shelf and there's selling pressure, well, that's when selling gets amplified, and you could see that selling pretty much dropped down, right? It dropped pretty hard. And so that's kind of like the power of utilizing technical analysis in confluence with fundamental analysis, because indeed, fundamentals were bad, and then technicals kind of led to that as well. And so from a long-term perspective, I've been saying this for quite a while, right? I've been saying the area that I'm looking to buy is, or really I'm eyeing to buy, is to see if Tesla falls down to this $155 area and seeing if it holds up, right? I don't want to just buy Tesla just because it hit this number. It's not like, oh, this is a magical number where Tesla's going to bounce off. No, I want to see if Tesla touches and fills this gap right over here and if it bounces up. And if it does, then that will provide me the confirmation to go ahead and buy at the bottom over there. Does that mean that it can't fall down even further? No, but at least I didn't deploy capital at all these other times hoping that that was a bottom. It's just an area that I was looking for confirmation. And so that's the area I'm looking for in my long-term portfolio. I also said if we're going to see a massive wave upwards, well, I want to see Tesla close above 200, right? And you'll notice that interestingly enough, that's again above this volume shelf where we go into this volume gap. And you'll see that in the past when we had buying pressure in this volume gap, that's when Tesla tremendously moved up. You also notice that happened over here, again, where there's little volume relative to price. And so that's what we're watching for, what I'm watching for from a long-term perspective. But as you guys know, I often participate in the market in two separate ways, right? I have my long-term portfolio, mostly invested in pretty much index ETFs like VOO, which is the Vanguard. It's pretty much the S&P 500, with a few individual stocks like NVIDIA. Hershey's was one of its super small position. Gold, Spotify was another one that I have in my long-term portfolio this year that's killing it. But a majority of it is pretty much the index funds and also with Tesla. And so, you know, in the long-term portfolio, those are the areas I'm looking to buy Tesla. If we bounce around over here in the 150s, or if we actually start going up to the 200s. So that's what I'm looking for. Now, from a trading perspective, I may actually trade Tesla or do a swing trade for Tesla in my short-term trading account much sooner. Sorry, let me correct myself. I know I often say things incorrectly with that. But anyways, the reason I say this, and this is just pure technicals, and you guys know I'm not a big fan of technical analysis, and I'm going to kind of just do a sloppy job over here. But from a technical perspective, right, one of the reasons why I may swing trade Tesla is because if we look at it, we kind of have this descending trend line, and let's go ahead and draw like a little horizontal line over here. Right, let's draw this little shelf. Again, very sloppy work. I'm doing this real quickly. We're kind of at this bottom baseline over here, and so we could potentially see Tesla break out over here, and I would love to do a short-term swing trade on that. So that's something I'm looking for in the short-term swing trading account. But I'm not going to be buying Tesla in my long-term portfolio unless the other criteria is met. But again, you know, that's just a technical perspective. The reason why I don't want to do that in my long-term portfolio is because I like to layer more data points into the long-term buys, and right now we're still not in the greatest monetary cycle. Again, that's something I'm not going to delve into that in this video. We could talk about the JOLTS data, but actually I think I'm going to reserve that for those within the Push and Profit private group when we do our daily briefing and kind of talk about that a little bit more. So being that this is a video purely on Tesla, I don't think I want to touch on everything else that's going in the market. Again, I'll leave that for the tonight's briefing within the private group. First link in the description below if you want access. But you guys let me know in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on Tesla? Are you guys buying? And again, I want to remind everyone that I am long-term bullish and everyone has their own philosophy and you guys don't have to follow what I'm doing. Again, I could be completely wrong, right? You guys should only do whatever you see value in. And the reason I say that in every video is because it's very important that I say that in every video. I know some people say, Justin, you're repetitive. Why do you always have to tell people to be careful with their money? Whoa. If you don't tell people to be careful with their money, well... interestingly enough, people are just careless with their money, and so I try to provide that warning. But hopefully you guys found some value in today's video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, guys.